Welcome to From Chaos to Peace with Conny, where I explore, often solo and sometimes with a guest, how a few minutes a day can keep the chaos away. And with chaos, I'm talking about the physical, digital, social, financial, mental, emotional, and spiritual clutter that can accumulate in our life and business. My name is Conny Graf, and already as a little girl, I was aware of the effects our environment has on us. I would clear clutter and organize and reorganize environments way before anyone was talking about the life-changing magic of clearing clutter. Now I help others to move from chaos to peace, clear their clutter, and get organized in a way that works for them. Well, hello, my friend. Welcome to the podcast. How are you doing? Thank you so much for allowing me back into your ears. And if this is your first time here, a very warm welcome to you too. I'm so honored that you're checking out my podcast. This is episode number 153 of the From Chaos to Peace podcast, where a few minutes a day keep the chaos away and where you learn how clutter is so much more than you think and why I say that clearing your clutter is self-love. Today I want to talk about how to finish things. Some people have a hard time starting something, but more often than not, we are great at starting, but not so great at finishing. But finishing is important because, as you might remember, the third category of clutter is unfinished things. And with 2022 coming to an end, a good approach is to finish as many things as possible so we don't drag them into the new year. A quick side note, if you're new to my podcast and you want to learn more about the different categories of clutter and the different types of clutter, go listen to episode number 2 called What is Clutter?, where I walk you through all 4 categories of clutter and through each of the 5 types in every category. As I say in my intro, clutter is so much more than you think. Okay, back to finishing things. We all had that feeling of relief before when we were finally finishing something that was laying around unfinished and tripped us up over and over in our days. It can trip us up physically because, for example, we haven't finished organizing something and now we have to again search for whatever we're looking for. And it's now not anymore where it used to be, where we at least kind of knew where it was. Now it's somewhere else because we stopped in the middle of it. But more importantly, it can also trip us up mentally because whenever we work on something, in the background of our mind, we have this long list of other things, other projects, other goals that we still have to do too. And science came to the conclusion that we remember uncompleted goals and projects way better than completed ones. What a bummer, no? Our minds inability to let something go, that feeling that something unfinished is eating away at you, pulling you down, and might even keep you stuck. And if we have a lot of unfinished projects, goals, books, e-courses, or decluttering projects, not finishing something is no longer just a possibility when you start something new. It becomes your identity. And that is really a terrible feeling. Most likely, we all have unfinished things. I sure do. The question is, how do we handle those things? So in my eyes, the first thing we of course have to do is make a decision whether or not we're going to finish these things. Because sometimes we start something and then we realize it's not really for us, or it's not as helpful as we thought, or it doesn't have priority right now. And if that's the case, we can also intentionally decide to not finish something. But of course, then we have to make sure this decision feels good. And we can let go of the project. We can really let go. Let go of the e-course that we're not finishing. Let go of the book that we're not finished reading. Or whatever project that we're deciding not to finish. But oftentimes the decision is that we do want to finish it because it has priority or because it is important. But how do we do that? Well, in the business book club that I belong to, which is called Thought Readers, led by Lisa Larder, we read the book Finish by Jon Acuff, and he had some really great ideas and concept in his book that I want to share with you on how we can be better at finishing things. So I will give you an eagle eye perspective or overview of what he suggests how we can get better at finishing things. But best is, of course, if you want to finish things, to go get his book and really read it. Here are his tips on how to finish. First, we need to kick perfectionism in the butt. Jon begins his book by telling us how in spring 2016, Mike Peasley, a researcher from the University of Memphis, studied the people who were enrolled in Jon's goal-setting course. The researcher wanted to analyze what worked and what didn't, and who finished the course and who didn't finish the course. He studied 850 participants. And the biggest outcome of this study is what causes people to increase their progress dramatically and to actually finish something is when they take the pressure off. Those participants that could let go of the crippling perfectionism. Are you suffering from that? I sure do. That caused them to quit their goals. The less that people aim for perfect, the more productive they became. But just like me, you might have grown up with the saying, if you're going to do it, you might as well do it right. That's where perfectionism shines. The problem with that is you most likely end up doing nothing, or you might never finish. So step one, if you want to finish something, you have to get rid of perfectionism and you have to develop tolerance for imperfectionism. This is the key factor if you want to turn your chronic starter self into a consistent finisher, Jon says. Understanding that the opposite of perfect is not failure, but being a finisher is key. So this is why I say a few minutes a day keep the chaos away, because we can handle a few minutes of clearing clutter and getting organized on a regular basis so much better than trying to be perfect and create the perfect environment in one go, the perfect habits that we can keep up with, the perfect systems and processes right off the bat. But if we just focus on doing something, even if it's not perfect, scary, right? Even if it's just for a few minutes, even when you think that doesn't make a difference, even if we feel that doesn't count, we are still making progress and we are on the road to finish something and we can become finishers. Okay, then the second insight that Jon had was we need to chunk it down. This insight also comes from science, and it is that especially chronic starters overestimate what they can accomplish in a given period of time. When they fail to hit the massive goal, it leads to discouragement, which results then in quitting and never finishing. And I have talked about this here on the podcast too, and it's actually number one of my 3 principles for successful decluttering, that we need to chunk things down, that we need to cut our goals or projects most likely in half, because we most likely are overestimating what we can accomplish in any given period of time. Many people start out very motivated and want to organize their entire office in one swoop, just to crash and burn after 2 hours, not finishing their reorganizing project and having more chaos now than they had before. If you actually chunk down the area and stop working on it before you're completely exhausted and can't continue, and as a result build a lot of resistance to continue on it, you make more progress. So instead of wanting to reorganize your whole office or your entire filing system or all your finances, pick just one drawer or one shelf or 1 month of your finances. or one small area of your filing system. Pick on purpose something that you feel is too small, not enough, not making a difference, but then actually do it and do it over and over, these little chunks. This gives you a win and a good feeling, and then you do it again and another small bit and then another small bit, and before you know it, you're done with the project and you're a finisher. The third thing Jon Acuff talks about in his book Finish is ignore noble obstacles. And I thought that was really an awesome chapter. This is about how we invent noble obstacles as reasons why we can't finish something. It's perfectionism trying to creep back in. A noble obstacle in Jon's book is an attempt to make our goal harder than it has to be, so we don't have to finish, but can still look respectable in our own eyes or in other people's eyes. But as I mentioned earlier, our mind remembers things we don't finish so much better, and it bogs us down. It's very heavy and uses a lot of energy. It's one of the 4 categories of clutter, unfinished things. So ignore noble obstacles. Examples for noble obstacles, especially when decluttering, is I can't do X until I do Y. I hear that a lot. I have to wait until I have time to tackle the decluttering project or the organizing project. But if we're honest, we never just have time. We need to make the time for something if we really want to do it, if we want to start it, and if we want to finish it as well. Another noble obstacle is if-then. Jon says we know we are using if-then as a noble obstacle if we only give us 2 extreme options to choose from, like it has to be perfect, or we might as well not do it, or we might as well quit at it. Another noble obstacle is telling ourselves it's too hard. So the next time we work on a goal or project, Jon dares us to add the following questions during the middle of the project, for sure before it stalls and we don't continue. Could things be easier? Could things be simpler? We don't need to make things hard. It does count when we can finish something the easy way, find a shortcut. Another noble obstacle is there is no time, or we missed the best time. But there is never a best time to do something. Or, by listening to Buddhism, I think it is, the best time is always now. Other tips in this book are decide what we are not going to be good at while we're finishing this project. So we don't just give time to do something, we also take time away from something else. So in order to be good at one thing, we have to be maybe a little bit bad at something else. To finish a project, we might have to decide to not finish another project, or to finish it later, or to not do something that we usually do. But perfectionism, of course, tells us, I can do it all. But then we can't and we quit. So if we want to be finishers, we have to decide what we're going to be good at while we're finishing that project and what we're not going to do or not going to be that good at. Another tip is make it fun if you want to get it done. And he makes the point that fun actually counts. Many of us might think if we have fun doing something, it doesn't count as success, because success has to be hard-earned. He says we think for it to count, we have to be miserable, and a fun goal or an easy goal doesn't count. But the opposite is true if we want to be finishers. So how can we make it more fun? How can we find the fun in doing something? And how can we find the ease in doing something? Another tip of his is get rid of our secret rules. We all have some secret rules that make it really difficult to finish things. For example, if it doesn't come easily, it's not worth doing, which is actually a contradiction to the rule that fun goals don't count. So in one way, we say if it doesn't come easily, if we can't do it really easily, it's not worth doing. If we have to learn it or if we have to go the hard way about it, it's not worth doing. we should be perfect from the beginning. But then again, that contradicts the rule that if it's fun, it doesn't count. So that's how we trip ourselves up over and over. It's noble obstacles. That's how sneaky our mind is. So get rid of all the rules that keep you from finishing. And lastly, he suggests we celebrate our imperfect progress. And I love how Jon says progress is quiet. It whispers. Perfectionism screams failure and hides progress. And how we can celebrate progress is to remember that it is a lot more encouraging to look at where we came from than where we're going to when we are still in the middle of a project or a goal, because the finish line is too far away to provide a boost or motivation. So again, as long as we are in the beginning or in the middle of a project, we should look backwards and measure how far we came already, rather than looking forward to see how far we still have to go. This only changes when we get closer to the finish line. Only when we're about 80 to 85% done, Jon says, can seeing the final stretch be motivating and propel us forward. This tip alone, I thought, was really great and worth reading this book. So here is a quick summary on how to become a finisher. Let go of perfectionism. Chunk it down and cut it in half. Don't fall for noble obstacles. Understand you can't do it all. Make it as fun as possible. Get rid of your secret rules and celebrate your progress. Okay, my friend, this was my review of Jon Acuff's book Finish. If you're struggling with finishing anything, not just your decluttering and organizing projects, but anything, any goal, any project, I highly suggest reading this book. Jon writes very entertaining and fun, and he keeps the topic really light, so you will be learning a lot while having fun. And remember, it counts even if it's fun. And if you're ready to clear your clutter and get organized, remember I can help. I take you on a journey from chaos to peace in your physical, digital, social environment and your finances, so you can focus on having the impact in life and business that you want. That's it for this week. Thank you so much for listening all the way to the end. Please share the episode or my podcast with a friend or business bestie, because if you find value in it, they will too. Have a beautiful and amazing week. Talk to you next time. Take good care and be safe. If you enjoyed this podcast episode and you want to go on a journey from chaos to peace in your home, office, and finances with me as your guide, opportunities to work with me one-on-one are available. Go to connygraf.com, CONNYGRAF.com to schedule your own personal Clutter to Clarity chat. And we will see if working together is a great fit. That is connygraf.com, CONNYGRAF.com.